A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. What a title. This movie was made in 1987, directed by Chuck Russell. This was Russell's first feature directional, and by some, this is the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie there is. So good on you, Chuck. I say that because my comments were flooded with people telling me to review the third one whenever I did the second and the first. They told me to just skip the second and go straight to the third. So to say the least, I was very excited to watch the movie. Before we get into the actual review itself, shout out to Trinity for coming on over to the Patreon. When you show love to the Patreon, you get a shout out like our friend Trinity. Or you can just comment down below on the video and your comment will pop up like these ones. See? Wasn't lying. Our main character is Kristen Parker. She was in her room staying up late waiting for her mom to come home. She was making what I thought was a school project, but it was paper mache version of Nancy's house, which is also the house of Jesse from the second one. Her mom eventually comes home, tells her to go to bed, and whenever she does, she goes into our first nightmare of the movie. She goes into the bathroom and we get like a cool little, like the knobs of the sink come out and like grab her hand.
Damn, that kinda got me, I'm not gonna lie.
Which was pretty cool. She slits her wrists. Freddy does, but in the real world, she actually does it herself. She grabbed a razor and did it, which is new. Usually in the nightmares, Freddy just like stabs them and then they just wake up with the wounds. But it seems like in this movie, they actually make it seem like the kids are doing it to themselves purposely. So that's a little new touch. Since she did this, her mom thinks that she is trying to harm herself. YouTube guidelines. Trying to harm herself, so she sends her to a prevention center. In the movie, it's called Weston Hills Psychiatric Hospital. So that is where she goes. She is under the guidance of Dr. Neil Gordon. There's another doctor, I forgot her name, but she's kind of like the non-believer of everything, you know, the classic person in the story that doesn't believe everything. And same with Dr. Neil, but he might come along to the idea later. At the hospital, the people try to make these kids sleep because they think they're just like psychotic, even though they all have these nightmares. It's kind of frustrating, but to say the least, but that's kind of what happens. The guy from The Matrix is one of the workers. I forgot his name.
Lost to explain this alarming trend.
Hey, I know that guy.
I forget the guy that I'm talking about, but it's this guy. You know which one I'm talking about.
Hey, I know that guy.
They try to put Kristen under, they try to sedate her, make her go to bed, which obviously is a no-no because of our boy Freddy. She don't like that one bit, and she even tries to hurt the doctors. But we get word that there is a new intern that is coming to the psychiatry center. And apparently she's an academic hotshot is what we're told. You know, I didn't know who it was at first until, well, I kind of suspected who it was because of Netflix. They like to put screenshots of a big point in the story. So I kind of got spoiled on that due to Netflix, but it ended up being
Never sleep again.
Nancy from the first movie. A fan favorite by a lot. You know, obviously she knows what these kids are going through. She finds out pretty quickly that, you know, Freddy's back. We find out that while she's talking to Neil, the main doctor, she is taking medication to not have dreams. So ideally, that's what she did to stop Freddy from attacking her. And she wants to get the kids on these medications. It's kind of nice to see that Nancy went into psychiatry. Kind of makes sense. I'm happy she didn't die, because whenever I first watched it, I thought she died by the end of the first one. Especially because she wasn't in the second movie, you know? It's kind of telltale sign that they died. And then we get an introduction to the other kids are in here. We have Philip. He is known to be the sleepwalker. He sleepwalks. That's his little fun trait that he does. And at first I didn't really like these kids. They're kind of like dicky. Lil Dicky? No. So I didn't really like him at first, but they grew on me. I forgot how to say this kid's name. It's spelled Kincaid. I'm gonna call him Kin, because K-I-N is the beginning of it. Kin is the tough kid. You know, he's if anyone dies by Freddy, he's usually like, oh, he was weak. Big tough guy. We got Jennifer, who likes to burn herself with cigarettes. She has the hopes to be a TV actress one day in Hollywood. We got Will, who is in a wheelchair, and he's kind of a nerd. He likes playing what I would assume would be Dungeons and Dragons, and he's kind of a nerd. I like Will. Will's cool. Taryn used to be a drug addict. That's pretty much it about her. And then we got Joey, who can't talk. Wikipedia, it says that he's too traumatized to speak. They don't really go into that, so I guess that is just what people are led to believe. And that's the gang. That's all the kids. That night, everyone goes their separate ways, and Kristen goes to bed. In the middle of her nightmare, she does something that nobody has been able to do yet, and that is pull Nancy into her dream. No one's been able to do that other than her. That automatically makes Nancy very intrigued at what Kristen can do. Kristen says that she's been able to do this for a long time. She hasn't done it in a while, but she used to pull her dad into her dreams and it would make her nightmares go away. Nancy tries to dive deeper into this, try to figure it out for herself, kind of like why she can do this. The next day, that's whenever Neil finds that Nancy's been taking those dream suppressors and he's kind of, he makes note of that. Nancy meets with Kristen's mom, and she's not any help. She's kind of an asshole. Also, she's like saying like, Nancy's just asking her valid questions, and then the mom's just like it's your job to figure this out. And it's like, well, we have nothing to work on, so if you could help us, that'd be great. And she doesn't, so that's awesome. And she finds the house that is Nancy's, well, was Nancy's. She takes it home with her. And then once they both go to bed later that night, that's whenever they both get pulled into the dream. Neil researches what pills Nancy's taking, and which I feel like should be none of his business, but he decides to look into that anyways. The next night comes along and everyone goes to bed, and Philip has a nightmare. And this is most definitely the most gruesome nightmare that we've ever had in these movies. His arms get cut, and then Freddy like pulls out the like, I don't know, just like tissue or something in his arms, and he starts like controlling him like a puppet. It's definitely gross, but pretty badass. He makes him jump off the roof, so R.I.P. Philip. All the kids see it. It's very unfortunate, but they all know that it's Freddy's doing. And the next day they go into like a little talk group. The other doctor, the lady, she's like, they keep on telling her that it's Freddy and something else is going on, but she's just like, you kids are insane, pretty much. And it's very annoying. Very annoying, but I mean, it's like the thing where it's like you can't really blame her, but they're all saying the same thing, so, you know, there's gotta be something going on, but anyways, whenever I was watching it, I was very upset. Then we cut to Jennifer. Another night happens, and she's falling asleep with the TV. She wants the TV on so she can stay up as long as possible. Earlier, we said that Jennifer is prone to burn herself with cigarettes. That is to keep her up. That's why she does that. It's weird that she smokes, because she literally looks 12, but I'm not going to question it. It's the 80s. Times were different back then. Max, which is Matrix guy, gets convinced to leave the TV on by Jennifer, and he's like, all right, but just be careful and go to bed. She falls asleep, and she's watching like a talk show, and Freddy pops up in the talk show, which is, you know, pretty cool. Definitely in this movie, they did in the second movie too, but I feel like the third movie, they noticeably took a leap into making the kills a lot more like, not necessarily like funny, but just they're more creative with it. Yeah, and then he turns into the TV and he like smashes her into the TV, so. That's another kid down, which, you know, since this is a self-harm prevention center, it's not a good look. 2 kids in like a span of 3 days or 2 days, you know, and they, you know, bite the dust. That's not a good look for sure. Meanwhile, Taryn is taking a shower, and this nurse is smoking a cigarette inside the building. Once again, 80s core. He's being very weird. He comes out and he's like, hey, I got night duty, so who's trying to get high? Or something like that, because he knows she was a former drug addict, and he's trying to get her to get high, which is insane. Fuck that guy. At a funeral for the kid, Dr. Neil starts talking to this nun. She's kind of being like in the movies whenever they want you to do something and they just talk like out of context, and you're just like, what are you even talking about? It's kind of like that thing. And she's pretty much just like telling Doctor to find religion, and he's not gonna believe anything unless he opens up.
and is an abomination to God and to man.
Is she not gonna be there for Nancy?
What are you doing up here?
Yep.
I was just talking to...
All the kids end up having a sit-down group. They have daily sit-down groups to kind of just like talk with each other. And Nancy lets the kids know, because obviously she knows what's going on. These are the last of the Elm Street kids. They're the last of the kids of the people that burned Freddy long ago. So that's why they're being tormented. And she lets them know about that. Once Neil is kind of like... because Nancy keeps on like trying to get Neil to understand and open up his mind, and once he's finally like, okay, I'll try it, then they decide to do a hypnosis routine to make them all go to sleep, so then hopefully Kristen can pull them into a nightmare and try to defeat Freddy, get him gone. Hey dude. Hey dude. Hey dude. What you up to?
We are about to go to the Greta Van Fleet concert.
Oh, hey. Okay, where were we? So yeah, they go into a hypnotic state to make them all go to bed. They say that they have dream powers. So like, whenever you dream and you like do stuff, you know, like, oh, I can fly. They like try to discover each other's dream powers. Ken is super strong. Taryn is like, she said that she's beautiful and she's bad. So pretty much she's just like a girl boss, period. Kristen can like do backflips, which is like, you know, to each his own. Will can walk, and he is he's pretty much just like a wizard. Fucking nerd. No, I'm playing. Joey's been kind of flirting with this nurse. Or, well, he has a crush on the nurse. She guides him to a room, and, you know. So we find out that in Joey's dream, he turns into Riz God. The nurse was flirting with him, and turns out it wasn't real, because obviously we're in a dream, but you don't really know that until this happens. But, yeah. We get in the dream, and it's Freddy. It's not actually the nurse, which actually sucks. You know, Freddy's done some evil shit, but I feel like this is definitely the most evil. You know, that's just territory you don't go into. You know, that's fucked up. He like makes like a pit underneath Joey on the bed, and yeah, it's very unfortunate. And also the whole time during this, it's like, I couldn't help but ask myself, it's like, has nobody just like seen Joey? Because he wanders off in the dream. You know, they're all together in a discussion room, and then one of the kids just go missing. They know it's what they're doing is dangerous, and then nobody asks like, hey, where's the other kid? That was kind of horse shit in my opinion, but whatever. Once they wake up, Joey actually is in a comatose state, and he's in a coma. He's not dead, but he's stuck asleep, you know. He's in a coma, so that means he's stuck in Freddy's dream realm. So that's not good. The head honcho of the facility comes, and he's pissed off with Neil and Nancy because, you know, 2 of the kids died, one of them's in a coma, and whenever he found all of them, they were just asleep in a room. So he's like, some shit's going on, and so he fires both Neil and Nancy, which obviously is not good because these kids are suffering and they need to help them. But if they don't work there, then they can't even talk to the kids because they're pretty much in a prison. The nun that's been popping up here and there, her name is Sister Mary Helena. Neil's packing up all this stuff. He sees Sister Mary, and she leads him to not like an abandoned building, but you know, a building that people haven't been in a long time. I think it's the same building that Philip jumped off of, but I'm not too sure. He wants to know why people don't use the building anymore, and the building isn't used anymore because a young woman on the staff was accidentally locked in the building, and hundreds of inmates used her. She eventually got pregnant, and the son ended up being Freddy. And the only way to get rid of Freddy forever is to bury the bones. Then he'll be officially laid to rest. So Neil knows that that's what he's got to do. Luckily, he doesn't need to be with the kids in order to do this, so that's, you know, priority number 1 right now. Neil and Nancy go to the one man that will know where the bones are at. We cut to a bar, and we find out that that is Nancy's dad. He would be the only person that would know where the bones are at because he, you know, partook in burning Freddy, and he's a police officer. We get the vibe that he's a drunk now and he don't really do anything, but he's still a police officer, so he doesn't even want to deal with it anymore. He still is on the train that Nancy's crazy, even though his wife died in front of him because of Freddy. So you would think that he would be fully on board, but he's not. He's not being cooperative. Neil gets a phone call from the hospital, and it's the kids saying that Kristen has been sedated. So they know that they need to get to Kristen. Neil ends up convincing Donald to go look for the bones with him, which is kind of funny because, you know, Neil don't really seem that intimidating, and Donald is currently drunk, so the fact that they didn't fight is amazing. Eventually, Donald agrees. Nancy gets one last goodbye. She convinces Max to let her at least say goodbye to the kids, which obviously she plans on not doing. She plans on going into another hypnotic state and all going to sleep to try to rescue Joey and Kristen. Once they get into the nightmare, they get all separated. Taryn's in like an alleyway with Freddy, and Freddy, like, his hands become needles and he like stabs her, which is terrible, but a little bit badass. And Will is killed by his wheelchair. Wheelchair. He's killed by the wheelchair. They get killed by Freddy, which is very unfortunate. Kristen, Ken, and Nancy all find each other.
Yo, I thought I heard voices.
I'm struggling with these names, dude. I watched this movie yesterday. They finally find Joey, and he's still tied over the like pit. They all try to fight Freddy because Freddy eventually comes out and taunts them, and they all try to fight him, but he's too powerful because he used the souls of the children that he killed. While all this is happening, Neil and Donald go to a junkyard, which is where Freddy's bones are at. They pick him up, and Freddy kind of gets a sense that that his bones are being fiddled with. Somehow he can do this, but he went into the real world and went into his skeleton and started fighting Donald and Neil, which was filmed in stop motion, so it kind of looks a little bit aged, but I don't know how he's able to do this, but he's able to do it. I'm not here to ask questions. I'm the messenger. Freddy eventually kills Donald, which is like, good riddance. Freddy comes back to the others, and Joey finally screams, so that's his dream power, to be able to talk. So that's pretty badass. I'm still on Team Joey. Joey did nothing wrong. He doesn't deserve this. Neither does the other kids, but you know. Anyways, I see myself in Joey. Donald comes back, and he tells Nancy that he's crossing over, which, you know, he's dying, but anyway. It ends up being Freddy, and he stabs Nancy. To me, I thought Nancy was gonna die here, and I was scared. I didn't want Nancy to be killed off, especially in some goober way like that. I was like, don't kill off Nancy like that, bro, come on. He tosses her aside, and Nancy stabs Freddy with his own glove while he's trying to kill Kristen. So Nancy's still has a little bit of life in her, kills him with his own medicine. Yeah. Neil finally finishes burying the bones. Freddy's body starts glowing, and then he disappears. Oh my God! For good, hopefully. Kristen wakes everybody up and they return to the real world, but unfortunately, Nancy actually did pass away. She died by Freddy, and honestly, I'm kind of pissed off about. You know, at least she didn't die like initially by just like getting stabbed like, and then she's just dead. But like still, she still died by Freddy. You know, that's kind of, I wanted Nancy to have a happy ending, dude. I mean, because that means Freddy killed Tina, Glenn, Rod,
enemy UAV spotted,
and her, and the mom,
enemy predator missile incoming,
and the dad. So, I mean, Freddy got them all, which sucks, but anyways, that's what happens. Nancy dies. There's a funeral held for her. Neil obviously attended. He sees the nun once again. He wanders off to where she was, and it's a tombstone, and we find out that it's Amanda Kruger's tombstone, which would be Freddy's mom. It turns out that that is the nun. Sister Mary is Freddy's mom. So, Helena? I don't know. But it turns out that Freddy's mom is the nun. Then he goes to sleep that night. He has a doll that Nancy used to sleep with. That's, you know, that's nice. I don't know if they were supposed to be a couple. I took it as in they were like flirting with each other and supposed to be a couple. They didn't like come outright and say it, but I'm pretty sure that that's what it was supposed to be. And He still has Kristen's paper mache house of Nancy's house. The lights light up. So Freddy's not completely defeated yet. And that's what we're left off with. I really hope I explained that movie well enough. I feel like I didn't. I'm sorry if it was a little bit choppy. The clips will have to help me out. If we go back to what I said, this was supposed to be the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie. What do I think about this movie? Do I think that it is the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie? And to answer that question, I do. I do think that this is the best Nightmare on Elm Street movie because there is some new things added to it. I like that it was multiple people, not just one. I like that it was multiple people actively. You know, we know that Freddy has attacked other people before, but this is actively, throughout the whole story, there's multiple characters, and I like that a lot. I think that it adds a little bit more to their different personalities. Yeah, pretty quickly I got intrigued with the other characters of the show. I don't know, I kind of liked how they all had their own little problems that Freddy was trying to attack on. I feel like it was structured better in my opinion. So currently my list goes Nightmare 3, 1, 2. I'm putting 2 as the worst, not because it was like really that bad of a movie, but it's kind of just forgettable. And the first one is just a classic in my eyes. I don't know, I see it as a classic. You know, we get reintroduced with Nancy and that's really cool. And I don't like that she dies, but you know, she does. And I don't know, I just feel like I feel like it was just formatted really well. I was intrigued with the story throughout the whole time. I have my reaction up on Patreon, so go check that out. Actually, it's not up yet, but it will be in like 2 days. Many times through that reaction, I just stopped talking because I was like actually intrigued on what's going on, and I just was trying to figure it out myself. That's really where I get off with these movies. Pause. With trying to figure out what is going on, like trying to beat the punch to the movie to explain stuff. That's what I really like with these movies, and I feel like this movie was just full of it. Let me know what you guys think of this movie. If you liked it, if you felt like it was not as good as the first one, if you thought the second one was better. I have not heard anything about fourth and up. I know there is a fourth one, but I haven't heard anything about it. 50 likes and I'll do another video on the fourth Nightmare on Elm Street. My reaction will be up on Patreon. Have a good rest of your day and I will see you when